talked it.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out where we're at. It's got to be folks on vacation.
Yeah.
It must be Wyoming, maybe. When, yeah, that was the early days. It's these old Plymouth. It's Ginger. That must have been shortly after we moved from Carter Lake. He had that little trailer. He and Mom used to. I'm not sure where they're at. Remember, I told you we used to always go out to California when Mom's parents were alive, but they never pulled a trailer, so they're vacationing someplace. And obviously, Grandpa, he loved to run his camera. That almost looks like it could be out the western part of Nebraska there.
This is there right there.
That was his old Plymouth in the trailer. What is that alongside the road?
Mountain. Oh, it's a deer.
Is that a deer?
Yeah.
Oh, I know where they're at. They're up in Ogallala. That's where they used to go fishing up there. That must have been before he had a boat. That's Lake Ogallala. They had a campground there. They used to camp down there. The big lake was on the other side of the dam. Yeah, that's where they're at. That's Lake Ogallala. And I'd say we're back in the early 60s, mid 60s. That's the campground, obviously. Because I'd say those cars are about a 64 or 65. That's his car. It's the old Plymouth. Yeah, that's Lake Ogallala.
Grandma cleaning fish.
She's cleaning fish. I'd say bullhead or catfish because she's skinning it. That's their old dog Ginger. Yeah, I'd say that's early 60s. Okay, where we at here? That looks like that's out here. That's got to be Bridget or Sheila. Yep, that's out here when we lived down at McNew's. That's Grandma. I'd say that's either Sheila or Bridget.
It's like Sheila. Who are the dogs? Remember?
I can't remember the dogs. We used to have a black lab that used to go between Grandma Fitz's and our place. That looks like it's pretty young. Okay, we could be in the Black Hills here. Look at all the pine trees. It's a 1957 Chevy there, so I'd say this has got to be early 60s. Obviously, we're in another campsite. Oh, there's his old Buick, that green one right there. He bought that right when they moved to the house on Clay Street. So you're going back from that last film. I'm not sure where they're at here, but looking at those trees, it looks like it could be in the hills around Rapid City. South Dakota. That's his car. That's her little camper. That'd be Mom standing in front of it, I believe. Yeah, there's Ginger. He loved that camera. There he is. That's your granddad fishing. They must be back in, yeah, they're up in, that's Ogallala again. What's he got, a carp? Or catfish? That's catfish.
Huge.
Yeah, he'd always catch the fish. There's a carp there.
Is that what that is, a carp?
That's carp. He would catch your fish and Mom was the cleaner. Yeah, those are carps. Yeah, that's your grandfather's. Cliff Townley. And one of the rare photos that your grandmother is running the camera. She did not like doing that. Yeah, they were back in Ogallala. They had the camper pretty close to the lake, didn't they? There's Grandma cleaning fish. Big carp. Cigarette hanging out of her mouth. Wow, that's a pretty good sized fish.
Put that.
Yeah, he's got pretty good sized carp there. She must be catching one now.
This has
1880 train.
in the Black Hills then.
Yep. There's Mom sitting in the old Buick. I believe that was a 1960. He bought that with the proceeds from the sale of the house in Carter Lake.
So this is newer than that Plymouth that we saw earlier.
No, this is older. That Plymouth was like a 64. Okay, yeah, there's their Rapid City. There's the faces. I don't know if they'll have any pictures, but you'll see this was really in the early stages of the faces because, it's completely commercialized now. I'm not sure where we're at here. Can you read that?
Still looks like our Mount Rushmore Visitor Center.
Okay.
That's what the Visitor Center at Mount Rushmore looked like. And
Yeah, well, that's definitely changed. Yeah, we're in the hills. It looks like donkeys, aren't they?
yeah. Is that Grandpa's Buick?
No, that's a Chevy. He's taking pictures of other people with the animals coming up to the cars. They're obviously at the dinosaur park.
Was this fairly new?
No,
Or had it been around a while?
I'm not sure where we're at there, if you're going to call it that or not. Was there a place up there called Reptile Gardens, maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they're at. Pretty plain.
Well, there's Rapid City in the background.
Yeah, that's early 60s. Now there must be back down to Ogallala, because there's a camper in the car.
Now, this camera that he had, do you think it's the same one that he had when you were a little guy?
He may have changed. I don't really recall, Matt. He could have updated. I'm just curious what happened to those cameras. I remember some of those old cameras had a bar on them, so they all lit up. Boy, were they bright, and would they burn you. See, your grandfather wasn't very big. I think Dad weighed maybe 160, 165 pounds. That, I believe, looks like could be Tammy and Rusty. White. It's Carol and Gary's kids. I'd say what it may be 8, and she could have been 8, and Rusty could have been maybe 6 or 9 and 7. Who knows? It's pretty close to that, but that's. Got to see in the background where we're at.
I think we're in California.
I was just going to say they're probably in California then. I'd say he looks like he's 6 or 7, wouldn't you say there?
Might be younger than that, like 4.
Yeah, I'd say definitely they're in California on this filming. Gary's, I think I told you that story. Gary's folks used to farm over in Oakland, Iowa. And he had 3 brothers and a sister. So there were 5 of them all in all. And I think his dad's name was Ronald. Can't remember what his mother's name was. Anyway, they all sold the farm, moved to California, and they got into cleaning restaurants. And anyway, the cleaning business, they were going to make their way out there. They wanted better weather. They eventually came back to Iowa, his folks. Carol and Gary stayed out there. Basically, Aunt Carol never came back.
She liked the weather.
She did not want the cold, did not like the cold at all.
I wonder if Rusty and Tammy have seen these.
Probably. But boy, it's been a long time. I think at this time, they lived in the Garden Grove area in California. You know, they had suburbs. Because look at all the oranges. We are definitely in California. There's Grandma picking up oranges. That looks like Carol, is it?
No, I think it's Grandma.
Is it? Is that Grandma? Okay.
Well, this is a fancy schmancy house.
Now this, I think, this is at Aunt Merle and Uncle Witt's, because he had a pretty nice place with a swimming pool. That Merle would have been your grandmother's sister,
And this is down near San Diego?
I believe, in that area. I can't remember, Matt. But Witt had a pretty big job. He made pretty good money back then. They had Anita Mae and Dickie. They had a boy and a girl. And Dickie has since passed. Anita Mae used to come and visit Mom and Dad here in Omaha. Okay, there's Gary. That was Carol's first husband. He's the father of Tammy and Rusty. And he had a little younger brother. Well, he had three brothers younger, but Jim was within a couple years of Gary's age, and he had two other brothers. Yeah, Gary was a pretty nice guy. I got along swell with Gary. Kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. Always had kind of a crazy laugh. Yeah, that's pretty fancy house.
It's a very nice house.
Yeah, that's Gary and the kids there. And see, like I said, I don't really. Where'd you say you thought they lived?
Somewhere around San Diego.
See, the grandparents lived in Anaheim.
Gary's folks.
No, your great grandparents.
Oh.
My mother's Grandma Turner.
How did they end up out there?
I'm not sure how. My grandmother divorced. Okay. Her first husband. I'm not really sure how they wound up going. Oh, no, I can't. It could have probably been one of Mom's siblings, like Aunt Merle. Her daughter could have moved out there. And then Grandma went out there. Grandma Turner's first husband's name was Pearson. And when they divorced, she wound up in California. And she married Fred Turner. And then that's all I can remember is they lived in Anaheim. There's Carol. I had an uncle, George. His name was George Pearson, obviously. There's Gary in the swimming pool. But Mom had Sid was a brother, George was a brother, and three sisters.
Merle.
Aunt Merle lived in California. Aunt Helen lived here in Omaha. Who am I missing? Oh, there's Merle, Mom, and Helen. Then there was Sid and George. There was 5 of them. Yeah, that's Gary. But what was kind of odd, Sid married, let me think of her name, Ruth. Ruth happened to be the daughter of Fred Turner. So they're not biological, obviously, but actually Sid's stepfather and his wife were father-daughter. But George married a lady by the name of Lois. I don't know her maiden name. But they had 3 boys. Stephen, I'm not sure what happened. Stephen farmed here in the Omaha area. Then I think the other 2 boys pretty much stayed in California. I don't even remember their names. Sid, which would be your grandmother's brother, they had 1 daughter. And I believe, if she's still alive, she lives in California still.
Any idea who her name is?
I can't remember. Didn't even really see her that much. Saw her a couple times when we went over to their house. My step-grandfather was, Fred Turner, was a heck of a painter. I remember going over to Sid and Ruth's house one of the few times we went over there. He painted a mural on their garage wall. I do remember that. He loved to paint. But all these people out here, Fred had other sons. There was Chet, would have been a stepbrother to your grandmother. I remember Chet. That's all I remember about him. I remember Fred. Now they must be, it says a hotel lobby. I don't know if we're in Disneyland here.
Looks like we are.
Looks like they're in a park. They used to go to 3 parks. There was Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm. What was? I think it's no longer available around, but Pacific Ocean Park. I believe they're. I know they're here. That's Disneyland. That's where they're at here in this film. Because there's the monorail.
Oh, pirates.
No, on top.
And now we're fishing or somewhere.
Probably back in Ogallala here. See, the Ogallala is right below the McConaughey. The big lake's right up. It's a big dam. So this could be McConaughey, what he's filming here. Yeah, I'd say it is.
Actually, I think on the
Are we on the West Coast?
Yeah, I think we're still on the West Coast.
Okay.
Sure looks barren out there, though. There's going to be some video of him, Grandpa, and 2 other guys. It's going to be real quick. Coming up here, see if you can recognize them.
That's me. I think we went fishing. They took us fishing. We went out on a boat. I remember that.
Was that you, Grandpa, and
I think that was me sitting. Was that a boat? I think we went with. This is some kind of bridge somewhere. We went fishing on a boat, but I can't remember. It was Dad and I and maybe Sid. Now here I think we're at right off the Missouri River. But I think this is down by Surfside now. They had a marina down there in the early days, I think. Nope. It's too big for the Missouri River.
I think we're still in that same place. Look how barren it is. Looks like we're in, like you said.
Almost like we're in McConaughey.
Yeah, like we're in western Nebraska.
Yeah.
This is Yankton.
Yeah, you got a big dam here. Yeah, it's too bad he didn't have time to go through these and narrate them himself. That's water, obviously.
Look around the moon.
Well, see, some of these films too, Matt. We used to go fishing out here in western part of Nebraska, but this is not Nebraska.
Is this Yankton?
This is all, and it's windier. And look at how the wind's blowing. Catfish and catfish, or is that a carp?
Sailor.
It could be a walleye. No, it's a bass.
The big bass.
Okay, now we're skiing, obviously. Is that the blue chip? Yeah, it's a blue chip. So we must be in Carter Lake here.
That doesn't look like Carter Lake, is it?
No, but that's a blue chip. Who's that skiing?
Is it Carol by chance? Carol ski?
It's possible. I think that's Carter Lake, Matt.
Really?
I think that's Carter Lake. I don't remember Carol skiing though, but it could be also on one of their camping trips. That don't look like Carter Lake there with the trees.